place.
Season's greetings to all you lovers of the cosmic folk noir music genre. This is Dave from the band Wonders of the Yukon. We're based across in the UK, but you are listening to CKMS 102.7 Radio Waterloo.
Hi there, this is Dr. Don, the host and the producer of the Radio Nowhere Show, here on 102.7 FM CKMS Radio Waterloo. And I'm inviting all you playlist warriors out there to take the plunge and produce your very own radio show. It's easier than you think and very rewarding to share your love of music with the world. Or maybe a talk show is your thing. Either way, you'll enjoy artistic freedom to create virtually whatever kind of show you want and enjoy the many benefits that a radio show on Radio Waterloo offers, including a free music library, a podcast platform, and a web page for show promotion. These are features that no other community-based radio station provides. So take the plunge, go to www.radiowaterloo.ca and click on the Start Your Own Show tab. Come on, do it.
You are listening to CKMS 102.7 FM Radio Waterloo, and that was You Are Chosen to Be Here by Isaac Murdoch. We are Two White Feather, Lori Gentle Eagle, Cedar, Rogue, Rufus, and Arrow, the emotional support pup team, and this is the Red Road Journey, where we aim to amplify Indigenous voices to heal ourselves, our relatives, our communities, and our planet. We are broadcasting from the traditional territories of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee people. And today on the Red Road Journey, we're going to celebrate this sacred time of the winter solstice by sharing storytelling. And we're going to feature the person that you just heard, who is an amazing storyteller if you're not familiar with another one of his gifts. So we're going to get right to it. This is some wintertime storytelling with Isaac Murdoch.
Ani bonjour. Mazanap can get going on be dislikaz. Can be cook. Jabiga jwat and donjaba. Gnoje and dodem. Anishinaabe nini and dao. Nimki ajbekong and donjaba. Ninda. My name is Isaac Murdoch. I come from Serpent River First Nation. I'm from the Fish Clan. I live at Nimki ajbekong. I'm from a place called Ganabajing, which means where the serpent watches. And I also am Ojibwe, and I'm very happy to be here with you to talk about wintering stories. And I remember years ago, when I was younger, hearing stories about the power of winter and the power of snow and the great spirit of the power of the color of white. And believe it or not, as Anishinaabe people, as Ojibwe people, we don't believe that white is a color, but white is a power. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is the power of snow. Babon. Babon is how we say winter. And so today we're going to be talking about that. And I'm really happy that you're here to listen and to participate in the wintering stories with Bob Gijik from the Great Lakes. And so Bob Gijik was my great-grandfather. And I received his name through a ceremony in my village. It's an honorary name, Bob Gijik. It's to commemorate my great-grandfather, and I was gifted that name. And they say that years ago, long time ago, when he was a young man, he had a dream. And in his dream, he was told to grab his snowshoes, Ogmakeng, and to put them on his feet and to walk up north all the way to the Arctic in the wintertime. That's what he was told in a dream, and that he would meet a very powerful medicine man up there. And so he followed his dream. He grabbed his snowshoes and away he went, going through the snow, traveling and traveling north, based on a dream. And he kept walking north. Finally, the trees kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and he kept on walking. Finally, he found himself way, way far north, somewhere in the Arctic. And when he got there, he seen a man standing in the distance. And of course, these two men, they joined together and they started talking. That man said, "I've been waiting for you. And I'm glad that you received my dream." And he wanted to show him something special. And what it was a crater. So a meteor came through the sky and crashed into the ground. And certain animals only lived there. Certain plants only lived there. And so he waited till springtime. And as soon as these plants grew, he collected those medicines. And he spent the whole winter and the spring with this medicine man from up there. But he couldn't come back. He had to wait till winter time, because all the swamps and all the muskegs had to freeze up and the lakes for him to walk back. And so he waited till winter. He waited for the great spirit of Babonane to blow its cold breath on the earth, to freeze it, so he could walk back with his snowshoes. And he did. He came back with very powerful medicines from that place where that comet hit the earth. And they say that a special animal came out of that comet. They never said which animal, But they say a lot of animals actually came from the stars. And for him, coming back to our territory with that sacred medicine, it was quite an amazing adventure for him. And we respected that. Our family respected that. The people respected that. And he always said that it was his snowshoes that helped him, that carried him all the way there and all the way back. That it was the power of snow that made this possible. And so that's one little short story I want to start with, is that the snow, there's a spirit that lives inside there. They call that babonane. And the snow, when it comes, it has a purpose. And one of the purpose that it has is it helps put things to sleep. Like lots of trees go to sleep when the snow comes. All the flowers go to sleep. All the grass goes to sleep. When the snow comes, it puts things to rest. It gives people a break. And not only that, but when the snow comes, this great power of white, blankets the land. And it helps get rid of sickness. And it helps get rid of things that might be on the ground that shouldn't be there. I remember years ago, they told stories about the power of snow. I remember when I was younger, they said, don't be out there making a snowman. I said, why? They said, because you're creating a spirit. I said, how is that even possible? I'm just making a snowman. Doesn't matter. Well, if you make it, you got to feed it. So I remember I made a snowman and I had to get out there and feed it every once in a while. I had to put food in front of it. Because the old people believed that if you made a snowman, that it had a spirit and that it was alive. Just like Frosty the Snowman, like same sort of thing. And so we believe that the snow itself has a power and a healing power. And during first snow, when the first snow comes to the ground, we grab that snow and we rub it on our bodies. Like soap. Like real fancy soap. We'll rub that snow on our bodies as a way to heal ourselves, because we believe that the first snow is the most powerfulest and that it has healing properties. And so we grab that snow and we rub it on ourselves, and we have a ceremony to give thanks for Babon, for winter to come and be with us. And even snow angels. I remember going there, making a snow angel, and it was, again, I had to put food there. Because they said, you can't make a person, you have to feed that person. That's a spirit. That's what they told me when I was younger. Of course, a lot of things have changed since then, but these are some of the things that I remember about snow. And that the color white, it represents medicine. It represents the great white bear in the Ojibwe culture. And when that power of white comes, there's many things that live inside that power. There's many things that live in that color white. There's many spirits that live in there, and that goes on forever. There's no end to the power of white. It just keeps going and going and going. Far as you can imagine, that's how it goes. It goes a long ways. And so years ago, when people got sick, sometimes they'd grab snow. And as part of the cure, as part of the remedy to get better, they would rub that snow on you. I remember one time I got sick, and they put me in a fish tub. like literally a tub that was used to put fish into. And of course, they washed it out. And they laid me in this fish tub, and they covered me with snow. And that was to cure me, and I got cured by it. Because people believe that's a power. And some of the spirits that live in that power, of course, I talked about the great bear, the great white bear. And this great white bear is the chief of all the bears. And it has medicine power. The bear, of course, it hibernates in the ground, for a good part of the year. And so we believe that bear is fasting underneath the ground as per the instructions of this great white bear. And when this white bear, speaks its voice as first snow comes and tells all of the bears to go fast, these bears will start to dig in their dens. And of course, they'll start praying and fasting. And what the bears do is they gain medicine knowledge. And they get instruction from the power of this great white bear that lives in sort of like partnership with the snow, so that the bears will gather medicine knowledge. And of course, as we get older, when we eat the bear, we rub the fat on our bodies, and we rub that medicine, because that bear will start to eat all of those medicines in its life that it learns about as it goes in hibernation. It eats all that medicine, and and in the wintertime, it gets stored in its fat. So when we eat the bear, we take that fat and we rub it on our bodies as a way to help ourselves to get healed. And that's the power of winter. It's a very special time. They also call it the spiritual time for us. It's when we tell our Otsukanan, our sacred stories. It's when we share all of our interesting little details about our life, how we live in the forest, our customs, our way of life, our original instructions on how to walk on earth. All of those things are shared in the wintertime, because everything is put to sleep. And it gives us time to share what we have to share and teach our children what we have to teach them. Wintertime is a very big educational time for our young people, because it's when they sit and listen to the old people tell stories. And I'm not going to say that I'm one of those old people, but I got some gray hairs. They're starting to come out. Pretty soon it's all going to be white, and I'll be a little old man sitting here telling you these stories. But it is a time for us to learn and listen. Listen very carefully. We use our ears. And we listen to the older people tell these stories. I'm going to tell you a story about when people got trapped during a snowstorm and how they were able to, survive this big snowstorm. They say a long time ago, Babunene, the spirit of winter, started to blow his cold, sacred breath on the earth, started to create a lot of snow and ice, more than normal. As that snow grew, people started to get concerned, because there was lots and lots and lots of snow. People used to live in wigwams, huts made out of birch bark and different barks and things like that. And the snow was right to the top of these huts. And so people had to make tunnels outside to try to get outside. They couldn't even check their fish nets in the wintertime. The snow was so deep they couldn't snowshoe for moose to go hunting. The snow was so deep they couldn't go and try to get beaver. They started to starve. And the snow just kept on coming and coming. And I remember snow like that when I was a kid. I remember having to dig my way out of a window one time. There was so much snow. I don't think it's like that anymore. But it was like that when I was younger. Every once in a while it would be like that. But anyway, that's how it was in this story. Lots and lots of snow. And people were scared. They were like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? And there was a little girl in the village. And she was also in a wigwam that was covered up. And of course, everybody in that village was starving. And so she grabbed a handful of snow from the door. And she held that in her hand. And she says, I ask you, can you go speak to the Moose Nation? We're starving here. We need help. We can't go get food. Can you send that message? And that's what she said, and she melted that snow in her hands, and she put that on her heart, all that water. She put it on her face, and that message started to travel. her message and her thoughts of what she wanted start to travel through the snow. The snow is all connected everywhere. And it started to travel, and it knew exactly where to go. And during the shortest day of the year, the moose have a sacred council meeting. It's when the moose gather and they talk. And during that time, they make decisions on who's going to give their lives up for the people. What medicines are they going to eat? Which swamps are they going to go to? They coordinate their lives. Oh, maybe you go over to this swamp and we'll go to these swamps over here. All that sort of stuff. And so the moose have a big meeting, a wintering meeting, a sacred council meeting. And this little girl's voice got traveled through that snow. The power of baboon, the power of the snow, carried her voice right to these moose. And of course, once the moose got it, the snow started to speak that girl's voice, and they heard everything. This sacred council of moose heard their requests, heard the voices of this little girl asking for help, asking for food because they were starving. And all the moose started to talk. They said, oh, we've been visited by a guest at our council meeting. We have a voice here that's come to visit us. And this voice wants food. There's people starving over there. We should try to figure out which one of us is going to go over there and sacrifice our life so that they can have, good health, so they can have food, so that they can live and have nourishment and survive the winter. Well, they talked about it, and one moose said, well, I can't go because of, I already made promises. I have to go over this way later. Somebody said, oh, I have obligations. I got to go this way. And a lot of the moose couldn't go. But there is one moose that was, said, I'll go. And this moose had two horns. Like, one was like this, and the other one was straight up. And the horn was born the wrong way. The horn wasn't born straight up, like how moose's horn should go. The horn was born downwards. And so that moose said, I'll go. I had dreams about this. The reason why that horn is made like that is to dig. I can dig my way there and I can give myself to those people. And so all those moose were happy. The decision was made. This moose that had an irregular horn that was born like that was the one that was chosen to go. And it started to make its way to that village. It started to dig with that horn and dig and dig. And it took a long time. Digging. Finally, it made it halfway there. It took a break. It was out of breath. A moose is a big animal. It works hard, but it can only go so long. So it took a break. As soon as it sat down, the great spirit of the snow, Babonane, spoke and said, people are starving. You have to keep going. People are going to die if you don't get there soon. So that moose started to dig some more. It started to dig some more. It started to dig its own trail. It started to walk slowly but surely. It started to make its way to the village. Finally, it got to the village. And it got to where that little girl was. And people could just hear this crunching outside. Like, finally, they seen that moose's head stick out of that door inside that wigwam. And they knew that moose had traveled there because of the request of that little girl. That little girl told everybody what happened. She said, she told them before, I made a request to the power of snow, to the power of the white, so that we can get food. When that moose got there, it was tired, and it laid down like this, sitting up, and then it put its head down. And of course, it sacrificed its life so that the people could live. And they respectively took the life of that moose. And when people do that, it's like they adopt that moose or that meat to be a part of their life and a part of their family. It's like they adopt that animal to live with them and to bring, because it brings nourishment and it brings medicine, it brings energy and all of those things. But not only that, the moose, it goes to the hard to reach places in the swamps and it eats medicine there, the places where the human beings can't go. And the moose will eat that and store it in its nose. And so, of course, when something so sacred comes to our lodge like that, we treat it like medicine. And we adopt that medicine into our lives, into our family, because we know that it's coming here to bring us nourishment and good life. And that's exactly what that moose did. And so they took the life of that moose. That's what that moose wanted. And they were so thankful because they were able to separate all the meat to all the families that lived in the village. And it was just enough to keep them alive until the snow started to melt. They were so happy, the people. And of course, as the snow started to go away, they made an offering to the power of snow. They made an offering on the lake. There was a piece of ice there. As the shoreline started to break up, they put tobacco and food on that ice and they pushed it out and it started to float away and it melted. And with that, they made prayers and offerings. They said, when you come back next year, when you come back with your frozen breath to help freeze everything, we ask that you bring good health to our people. And we give thanks for that sacred moose that you brought to us. We thank you for saving our people. And they made an offering on that ice and they sent that off into the lake. And of course, it just traveled until nobody could see it no more. And after that, they were so thankful of that moose that they decided to sing a song to honor that moose. And I'm going to sing that song for you today. I usually don't sing songs because I'm not that good of a singer. But what the heck, I might as well just sing the song. So this is the honoring song that they gave so that moose could be honored and commemorated, for what it's done for the people. And so we use this song often when we honor somebody or when we honor something. And today I'm going to sing this song to honor you. We don't honor each other enough. As young people, we might find ourselves in a world of gossip and, things online, people saying bad things and all sorts of stuff. And I think that we need to honor each other more and to say good things about each other. And so I know that all of you have goodness in your heart, that you contribute to this great world in your own way. And so with that, I want to honor you with this song. And so right now I have something called a Teshiguan. It's like a little rattle, and it's going to be used as a drumstick. Doegan tick is what it's called. And then, of course, here I have an actual drum, Doegan. And so I'm going to be singing you this honor song. And as I sing this song, I want you to think about all the people out there that are doing good things. Maybe it's people that are helping old people. Helping little kids, like babies. Maybe those that are going out of their way to feed people that don't have any food. People that work at homeless shelters and food banks and those types of things. And all the people that need help in the world. And so while I sing this song and honor you, I want you to send your good thoughts into the snow. I want you to send your good thoughts into the cold air so that it'll travel to where it has to go. This is the song that I learned. It's one of the first songs I ever learned. I was just little when I learned this. I was only little when I learned this song. And so I'll sing it for you. It's a very strong song. And again, I honor you with this. Nahau. ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, yo, way ya. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, hey ya, way ya, hey ya, way ya, ya, yo, way ya, hey. Way ya, yo, way ya, hey. Hi-ya! Ho! Yo! 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 Yo!
Beautiful. And so I think we're going to stop it there for now and take a moment to honor ourselves and honor each other and go grab a hot drink, maybe light a candle, which is one of the ways to celebrate this time of year, right? This winter solstice, lighting a candle. And we'll be back. We'll be back with more wintertime storytelling with Isaac Murdoch. Thanks for listening on the Red Road Journey. Okay, and we are back with more wintertime storytelling with Isaac Murdoch. Let's see where he takes us next.
That song is an old song. It's one of the first songs I ever learned with that story. And it's been a great honor to share that song with you. And I thank you for casting your good thoughts and your good everything out into the world so that the world can be better. And of course, that's to honor you. Because we need to honor each other, like I said. So with that, I want to thank the old people that showed me that song and the old people that told me that story and for giving me those teachings. Because sometimes, our people had a hard time keeping the stories alive and keeping the teachings alive because of, residential schools and things like that. But they were able to keep the language alive and the old stories alive. And, I'm so thankful that our elders were strong enough and were resilient enough to be able to do that. And what resilience means, it means being tough, being strong, having determination to get through something. That's what resilience means. And so I just want to thank the elders that I grew up with, even though many of them have passed on. Thank them for teaching me, the little things that I know about the power of winter. Now let's get into something different. Winter is such a beautiful time of year. It's not a scary time. It's a good time. And of course, our people always believed in the power of snow and winter. We always believed that, even today. But life would be very hard if it wasn't for our snowshoes. Ogmatang, the snowshoes. They're such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And the snowshoes helped our people. Just like I was telling you about my great-grandfather that went all the way up to the Arctic with the snowshoes. The snowshoes helped our people travel in the wintertime. And they're made out of wood, and they're also made out of the animal skins. like a moose or a deer, mostly moose. And so we give thanks for the great snowshoes, that help us. And we believe that the snowshoe has a power too, that is connected to the power of snow, that is connected to the power of white. So we thank those snowshoes for helping us and continuing to help us into the future. So if you get a chance and if you get snow where you are, then maybe it'd be a good thing for you to go snowshoeing around. One of the things I was always taught about snowshoeing is when you leave the house, always make sure you point your snowshoes, the front of your snowshoes, towards the house as you leave the house. That way your snowshoes will always know to come back and you won't get lost in the forest. That's just what I heard anyway. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the sleigh dogs and the sleigh. That was a gift to us by the great Nanabujo. Nanabujo helped us with the snowshoes, helped us with the dog sleds. And the dog sled was very important to us because it was a way that our people would travel in the wintertime with quite ease. And so, of course, there was trails from this lake and that lake, and there was trails to rivers and all sorts of things. And these dogs were specifically picked based on the size of their feet, the size of their body, their temperament, how they acted. And so sleigh dogs were, they were wintering dogs, they called them. And they were picked specifically by how they were. But there was always one leader. That was the leader of the rest of them. And what they used to do was they used to take this leader. They'd know that this dog was a leader, maybe based on a dream or based on something. And they'd take that little puppy, they'd open its mouth up, and they'd spit in that dog's mouth. And it was to create a bond, a relationship with that dog. That dog would grow up to be a great leader. And of course, they'd take that dog, and they'd take special care of it. They'd let it wander around at nighttime. They'd let it wander around to stargaze. Because that leader of those sleigh dogs would teach the other dogs about the stars, how to navigate at nighttime through the stars. It would teach the other dogs about thin ice. As you're traveling on the lakes and the rivers, sometimes there's thin ice, and that's very dangerous. And so the lead dog, the Nagani Namush, the leader, would often be educated in the ways of our natural laws, our Chinaknagay to know about these things. And those dogs also knew the future. They knew when things were going to happen. So these sleigh dogs were held in very high regard. And they were a very important part of our life because it's what helped us travel long distances, fairly quickly with lots of gear. And so they used to make the sleds very spiritually. They would select certain trees, like birch or an ash tree, and they would cut it down, they'd split it, they'd make it, and they'd put grease on there, and they'd make these beautiful sleighs. And these dogs, they were related to those sleighs. They'd say, oh, that's the dog and that sleigh dog, or in that sled, they're relatives. So the sled itself also had a spirit. The dog had a spirit. The snow had a spirit. And they all worked together to make sure that we'd get from point A to point B. And that leader of the dog would always know when there was bad ice, would be able to navigate it and make sure that people got to where they were safe. But I'll tell you a story of when something went wrong. Something didn't happen right. And how the dog saved the people during a hard winter. People were traveling. And Maji Manado Gaming is the name of this lake. It means I don't know, there's something bad at that lake. That's the name of that lake. There's something bad there. And of course there was. And as people were traveling across this lake on their dog sled, the dogs stopped. They didn't move. They stopped. And of course, the old man knew something was wrong because the dog stopped. They didn't want to proceed any further. And all of a sudden, you could hear rumbling underneath the ice. And you could hear noises like broop, broop, broop. And the ice started to shake. And so the dog started to turn around. And as he started to go back, that old man slipped and he fell in the ice. And when he's on the ice, a crack went underneath him and he fell right into the water. So now he's like in the water and the ice started to crack all over. And of course the dogs made its way to the shoreline. And the other dogs untied that lead dog, took its harness off around its neck. And that lead dog, Nagani, went to where that man was and jumped right into the water jumped right in there. And the old man was sitting there on the ice like this, and his legs were underneath. Sometimes if you fall on the ice, you have to be very careful around the ice. Sometimes if you get stuck in the ice, I'll show you. If the ice is here, your legs will be way up like this. And that's how you float. Your legs will float up underneath. And what that does is you can't get out. So that dog swam underneath the water and it pushed the legs up right. And it started to push that old man out of the water. And was able to get him out by pushing the legs back so that he could climb out. And once those legs got pushed up straight, he was able to claw his way off onto the good ice. And that dog, it dove down, way down, and it never came back up. There was something at the bottom of the lake, and it offered itself as an offering to appease whatever was there so that it would never happen again. And after that lake became safe. Nobody ever drowned at that lake again. That dog gave itself to some sort of like a big worm. That's how it was explained to me. A big worm at the bottom of that lake made that ice like that. And so every time people go through that lake now, they put their tobacco there. But that dog, it saved everybody. It saved the old man. That old man had great medicine to bring to other people. And, the dog gave its life. And that's how sacred dogs are. Dogs are very sacred, and the dogs are very connected to that power of the snow. They're very connected to that sacred spirit. And these are some of the things that I heard growing up. These are stories that I heard about the power of winter, the power of Babonene. And I'm going to tell you about Babonene. Babonene is like an old man that lives way up near Gwaednung. Gwaednung is in the north. And there's a group of stars there. And these stars, in the stars there's a wigwam up there, like a hut. And that's where this old man lives. And he blows his breath on the earth and creates winter so that we're able to share what we have. I remember when I was younger, during winter time, how we survived was everybody had to share everything with everybody. That's the only way. Maybe somebody got a lot of berries in the fall time. They would share those berries throughout the winter. Or if somebody got moose, or if somebody got fish, everybody was sharing with everybody. Because winter is a hard time. And so the more you shared, the better chance of survival you had. And so that's why winter came to us, so that we'd be generous, we'd be kind, we'd have to share what we have with people. And so the wintering spirit, of course, as soon as, the stars start to shift, the wintering spirit comes out and, of course, starts to blow its breath on the earth and makes it cold. So it makes us be caring and sharing and all of those things that I talked about. That's so important. And so that's why we have winter, is to put things to sleep, put things to rest. You know, a lot of animals dig in the ground and they sleep like turtles and frogs and snakes and lizards. You know, they'll dig themselves into the ground, they'll have a good sleep. And also like animals, like squirrels will dig themselves in, bears, you know, badgers, all sorts of different animals will dig themselves into the ground and they'll sleep. The trees go to sleep. You know, everything goes to sleep. And so they say that when that happens, you know, it's our chance to get well, it's our chance to heal ourselves and get strong for the next season that's coming, which is spring. And so that's why Babundane, that lives way up in the stars, plays an important role for us here on Earth. Teaches us how to be kind and generous with each other. Because again, a long time ago, you had to be kind and generous with each other or you wouldn't survive. That's the way it was. And so winter was a very powerful, always a powerful thing. I think today that because of the way that society is and the way that things are today, people don't really recognize how important winter is, not just for us as human beings, but also for the animals and for the trees and for all those things. You know, winter provides us with great medicine because of that power of the white, which means, and of course we believe that's medicine. And so those are some of the things that I heard growing up that I wanted to share with you. The great power of winter. And I wanted to share with you another story. Time goes by so fast, I can't believe it. It goes by so fast. You know, first thing you know, it's almost over. So I got to get this other song in. First, I'm going to use my Sheshiguan. And I'll explain this song after. It'll make sense after. Hi-ya! Yo! Way-ya, hey-ya, way-ya, way-ya, oh, way-ya, way-ya, hey-ya, way-ya, way-ya, oh, way-ya, way-ya, hey-ya, way-ya, way-ya, oh, way-ya, way-ya, hey-ya, way-ya, way-ya, hey-ya, oh, way-ya, way-ya, Ande no que quiere baena. Ande no que quiere baena. Way-ya, oh, way-ya, way-ya, oh, way-ya. Ande no que quiere baena. Oh, way-ya. Hi-ya! Way-ya, 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 oh, way-ya. Way-ya, hey-ya, way-ya, way-ya, oh, way-ya. Way-ya, hey-ya, way-ya, way-ya, oh, way-ya. Way-ya, hey-ya, way-ya, way-ya, oh, way-ya. Ande no que quiere baena. Ande no que quiere baena. Way-ya, oh, way-ya, way-ya, oh, way-ya. Ande no que quiere baena. Way-ya, hi-ya, yo. 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 Yo! So that is another song. And they sing that song when they're trying to find something. They want to try to find knowledge. And because the snow is such a beautiful way to transport information from one person to another, or from a person to a tree, or a person to an island. And the snow can hear our voice. It can feel our songs. They say the snow can hear the vibration of the rattle. And as we sing our song and sing our request, it goes into the snow. And all of our thoughts and intention will get traveled by the snow and go to where it needs to go. And that song means, Ande Ajiang. You know, where did you go? You know, it's like somebody's looking for knowledge. They're trying to find knowledge to bring it back. Like, where did you go? What are you going to get? And so that's what the song means, but it's hard to explain in English, but it's a traveling song. It means that knowledge has been sent out and you're requesting for that knowledge to come back. So sometimes if I'm having a hard time in my life, I'll grab some tobacco, some sema, and I'll put that on the snow. And I'll say, I'm looking for answers for this or for that. Or I'm looking for good health for a friend. And I'll cast that out. Then after a little while, I'll sing that song. And I'll say, hey, where did you go? Can you come back? Can you bring back what was asked for? And the power of snow is a great communicator. You would be amazed at how connected the snow is to everything. I mean, everything. Right now in our lands where I live, it's all white. Snow everywhere. It's all over the branches. It's all over the lakes. It's all over the ground. It's all over the houses. And the snow, it's one great, big, beautiful spirit that just blankets over everything. And it's very beautiful and it's very powerful. And so we always ask that snow all the time, hey, can you help us? Hey, can you make sure that things are good for us? And it's very important that we do that.
Miigwech to Isaac Murdoch for all of the wisdom that he shared. And we're just going to relay a little story about winter as the season of storytelling. And this is by Julie Francella. And she talks about, in our culture, her culture, stories are not just stories. They are education, they are philosophy, they are spirit. Our people have always taught through story, astronomy, governance, kinship, history, language, ethics, all wrapped into narrative and metaphor. Our ancestors didn't divide knowledge into subjects the way the Western world does. Life was the subject, relationship was the method, and story was the vessel. And every winter, those teachings return like old relatives who know the route home without needing a map. During spring, summer, and fall, everyone was working, harvesting, fishing, tanning hides, preparing food, drying medicines. Survival work. The days were full. Winter slowed the pace and created room for deeper reflection. When the snow fell and the wind howled at the edges of the lodge, that was the moment everyone gathered close and the stories walked back into the circle. And each story is not told the exact same way every time, because every storyteller has lived a different life, learned different lessons, and carries different medicine. This is why oral tradition is alive. It breathes and it adapts. And every person who hears it may take away something new. A story heard at 6 years old offers a seed. The same story heard again as an adult opens a doorway. Meaning unfolds over time as we grow into it. In our teachings, winter is also the time when the animals rest. When bear goes into her den, when turtle settles into the mud beneath the ice, when the songbirds leave, when the deer grow quiet and move in closer toward the bush, the whole land goes into a different rhythm. The heartbeat of the world slows. Many of our stories include these animal beings. They are not characters, they are knowledge keepers, teachers, relatives. So out of respect, we wait to speak of them until they have gone quiet. We don't talk about Bear all summer when she is awake and moving across the land. We don't speak lightly of wolf or moose while they are living their real lives on the territory. To speak of them while they are listening wouldn't be respectful, and these stories belong to them too. Winter gives us permission. When the land is frozen, the animals are sleeping or resting, and that is when we can share the old stories that hold their teachings. The snow is a blanket over the earth, and under that blanket, the stories are safe to be told. This is why winter is the season of storytelling, because the animals know, the land knows, and our people have always known how to follow the rhythm of the natural world. Before telling a story, a small gift of tobacco is given to the storyteller. That tobacco is brought outside and placed on the earth, and this is how we acknowledge that these stories have spirit. They are not owned by one person. They are carried forward by many hands across generations. Story is relationship. Story is knowledge in motion. And tonight, with the cold settling in and the land preparing to sleep under snow, I feel that familiar shift. This is the season where the world quiets enough to hear the teachings again. This is when our minds can soften and receive, when the firelight flickers and the ancestors draw closer. Winter invites slowness. Winter invites reflection. And winter invites remembering. And so to all of you who carry stories, who share them, who hold them, who keep them living, this is your time. Tell them the land is listening again, and we are too. So that's from a reading by Julie Francella, Julie Francella. And both Isaac Murdoch and Julie Francella there really do encourage us to reflect at this time of the winter solstice and beyond. What is it do we want to communicate through the snow, through the power of white, as was spoken? Right? And in my tradition, we want to reflect and think about what is it that we want to move forward into the light and out of that darkness. So with that being said, we're going to leave you with one last song, and this is Kindness by Isaac Murdoch.
Hey, this is Jamie Hoover from the Sponge Tones, wishing you happy holidays. You are listening to CKMS 102.7 FM, Radio Waterloo.
I'm Eric Troplin from St. Clements, and you're listening to 102.7 CKMS Radio Waterloo.ca.
Bubbles, bubbles, bubbles in the air. Bubbles, bubbles, bubbles everywhere. There's bubbles on the chair, there's bubbles in my hair. Bubbles, bubbles, bubbles everywhere.
Black communities across Waterloo region have stories that deserve to be heard. But right now, important decisions are being made without enough Black voices at the table. That's why Rhythm and Blues Cambridge is calling on all African, Caribbean, and Black residents in Waterloo Region, ages 14 and up, to take the Pulse Check survey. It's confidential, takes 30 to 40 minutes,